Do you find yourself walking that hard balance, that kind of difficult middle ground of how to be authentic, how to be yourself, and fit in, belong, create a sense of being a part of a community? Well, isn't that the theme of Mulan? And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to look at the new Disney movie, Mulan 2020. And as we review it, we're going to look at your fourth and fifth human need. That is the need to love and the need to be yourself, to love yourself. So I call it the law of love. The need to love your neighbor as you love yourself. So let's move forward and look at how Mulan did it, and maybe give you some tips on how you can do it as well. Hi, I'm Brett R. Williams, licensed psychotherapist and the executive director for The Gathering of Good People. The Gathering is a nonprofit. It's dedicated to helping your emotional healing through personal growth. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about you growing through two very important, what I call relational phases of your own development. As we talked about in the very beginning, it's that balance between learning how to love others as you learn how to love yourself. Now, as a spoiler alert, you know we're going to go through this movie, so if you haven't seen it and I'm going to spoil it for you somehow, well, then don't watch this video. Hopefully you've already seen it, or hopefully you know the story well enough that I'm not going to blow it for you. But it's a good story. It's a really cool story, and I think it resonates with all of us so well, because I think we all have that need. We all have the need to try and be authentic, to be genuine, to be true to who we really are, and wanting to fit in, wanting to belong. What I find interesting about these two needs is that they come right after our core psychological needs. Our core psychological needs are for safety, for our desires, and for that sense of belonging. And once we've kind of worked through those desires and needs, we're moving on to a higher stage in life, which is our adult life. We're moving from childhood to adulthood. And in adulthood, the two biggest challenges is relational, and finally, ultimately, also spiritual. But in our relational needs, we're trying to balance out who we are with how do we work with others. And that's exactly the story of Mulan. Mulan is this young adult who's trying to navigate this new world for her. And I think there's some good tips in there that I want to really kind of pull out and draw out in the story to help all of us. Now, to begin with, I want to start with how the movie starts. And the 2020 version is a little bit different than the cartoon version, so that's what we'll be referring to here. But in the 2020 version, what happens is that we get this kind of opening scene where little Mulan, this little girl, she's chasing around a chicken. And she chases the chicken all through this community complex and does a little bit of damage on the way. The upshot is that she's successful, exactly, in fact, in a very spectacular way, she's successful. But everybody kind of looks down on her, because the message that we all get is that when we're out chasing our needs, which is what she was doing by symbolizing chasing the chicken, when she was out chasing her needs, society kind of looks down on that. It looks down on all of us grabbing and trying and working and really trying to get everything that we need in life. We see that as a kind of a childish adventure or childish kind of desires. And her being a child, there's a certain amount of it that was tolerated. But clearly, as the movie progresses, the message became clearer and clearer and clearer. Mulan, you chasing your needs and trying to be yourself is not what you're supposed to do. What you're supposed to do is fit in. What you're supposed to do is be like everybody else. And so we learn that getting, our needs met in childhood is okay, and chasing needs in childhood is fine, but you really can't chase your needs that hard and that fast in adult life. In adult life, it's not cool. I mean, yeah, get your education, get married, get in a relationship, buy a house, start a career, start a family, whatever, all of those things are acceptable. But once you have those basic things, pushing for more, you're just being selfish. Pushing for more, it makes you look bad. It makes you look like you're self-serving. If I get a college degree that's going to help me, get my career going, everybody in society would say, that's awesome, you do that. Well, what if I keep going? What if I keep going on for a master's and a doctorate? And those degrees really don't serve my job or necessarily benefit me in terms of moving forward in career. I just love to learn. Well, we look at that kind of person, we go, what? What are you doing? Or even people that get their basic needs met through their job. If we keep going for more money and more money and more money, we look at those people like, what? What are you, selfish? What is wrong with you? Even our families, we do this. Have a kid. That's awesome. Have 2 kids. That's kind of cool. 3 kids, 5 kids, 10 kids. And now our society kind of looks back and goes, really? 10 kids? Well, you could have stopped at 5 and been fine. We look at people that are just out there striving for their needs as something's wrong with them. So there's this weird dichotomy we got going on already in life where getting a certain amount of your needs is appropriate, but continually chase, And that's what Mulan learned really quickly, that chasing her needs was something she had to repress. The other thing that she had to learn was she had to repress who she was, to fit in, to be a part of the community. And we could see it so clearly in that scene where she's caked on with just a ton of makeup. And what is the makeup? The makeup is masking. It's hiding who she is, saying, you got to blend in with everybody else. And so we're going to put on this makeup so you look like everybody else. We may not do that in our culture, in our society, that kind of directly, but definitely the message is still the same as it was for Mulan. Now, as the story progresses, she's a bright kid. She learns to repress who she is. She learns to bury her needs. She learns to fit in, to be a part of the community. She learns to conform to what the standards are around her. Now, and in her story, as she comes into adulthood, something happens. A crisis happens, which is kind of the way a lot of us grow. A lot of us ultimately need some kind of crisis to break us to our next level, our highest level. And that was definitely the truth here for her, for Mulan. The crisis broke out. The kingdom became under attack. And her family didn't have any soldiers, didn't have any boys to send off to war. And so it was going to be her dad that was going to have to go to war. And she was like, no. Now remember, the first 3 needs are about ourselves: safety, our desires, and a feeling of belonging and being a part. But as we move into our adult needs, we move into these higher needs. And these higher needs are more, instead of 3rd need, being loved, being a part of a community, the 4th need is loving others. And that's what Mulan was faced with, this challenge of she loved her family and she loved her father, so much so that she was going to sacrifice herself. She was going to give herself away to war, to battle, to try and save and protect her dad, her family. Well, in that, she just had to continue to do what she was already doing. She had to continue the disguise. She had to continue the wear the mask. She had to continue to hide who she was. And what she began to find even more so is that she couldn't really find and tap into her true power, her true strength, when she wasn't true to herself. At one point, she's even getting into this battle with this witch, and the witch asks her straight up, "Who are you?" And Mulan lies. And the witch says, "No, that's a lie. And it's your lie that makes you weak." And so begin there to start to see that as she's denying who she is, her true talents and abilities, she's not able to tap into her true strength. But as she starts to embrace who she is, she begins to embrace more and more of her own strength, till the point where she has to come out. And one of her greatest values is truth. That's one of the pillars that she and her family's honor is built upon. And she wasn't living true to that one pillar, because she was living a lie. She was living a lie, pretending to be something and somebody that she wasn't, here in this military situation. And it's that realization that being this lie isn't working, that the witch kills her. Well, doesn't kill her literally, but kills her facade, kills her game. And at that point, Mulan realizes that she has to stop. She has to stop being dishonest. And so she begins now this new phase in the story where she's slowly letting go of the facade, letting go of the mask, and slowly embracing more and more and more who she is. And circumstance requires that. She's got to save people's lives. She's got to help other people. And to do that, she's got to be herself. Well, into this battle scene with the bad guys, the Hun or whatever they're called in the story here. You could probably make some comments to me below telling me what I said wrong in terms of what they're called. They were called the Hun in the cartoon version. I can't remember what they were called in this version. But anyway, she defeats them and saves her friends, and she reveals. It's the big reveal. It's the reveal of, this is who I am. This is my truth. And sure enough, sure to form, she's rejected for it. We kind of all saw that coming, because that's what society tells us over and over again. If you love yourself, if you are true to yourself, if you are honest with who you are, then you have to sacrifice the acceptance of the community. We have this dichotomy going on. You can't do both. You can't love others and love yourself, is what our society seems to be saying. And that's what's happened here, is that she's true to herself, and then she gets rejected by her commanders and by her friends. Well, the story doesn't end there, and the danger doesn't end there for Mulan. Mulan discovers the true plot that's going on, and she discovers that her friends are in danger, and the emperor is in danger. And she could go home with her tail between her legs, as it were, but the danger doesn't go away. And so she's like, nope, I got to continue to assert who I am. I got to continue to press the truth, because this has to happen. I got to save the emperor. And magic moment, her friends stand up behind her. Her friends stand up saying, yeah, we believe, we support, we care about Mulan. And because of that, the story shifts. And now, instead of the army being on the defense, they go on the offense. They go chasing now the bad guys. Instead of standing back and trying to defend the bad guys, which is what we all do with our needs. We're always trying to avoid losing what we have instead of chasing what we want. Because again, remember that message from childhood? Chasing what you want is childish. Chasing what you want is selfish. But now in this situation, they have to follow Mulan, and they have to follow her chasing what she wants, which is going on the offensive and going after the bad guys where they are going. And as she does that, again, the story continues to, bring her out in terms of her being her true nature, being her true self. And she fights the bad guy and ultimately wins, right? Ultimately wins. But she wins not by making herself the selfish, narcissistic kind of the evil character, because that's what the evil character has done. The evil character went from trying to get the love of community and others to only loving himself and only loving what he wanted and only loving his dreams. And that's what made our villain the villain, is that he was on the other extreme. He was only focusing on the fifth human need, which is loving himself. Now, Mulan had to do both. She had to love others and be true and love herself. And ultimately, when she did, what we find in the story is that balance is restored, is that justice is done, is that things work out. And that's the struggle that you and I all have. Because we're so afraid. We're so afraid to walk that line, to do the fourth need, which is to love others, and also do the fifth need. Because we're afraid that the fifth need is going to jeopardize the fourth need. That if I love myself, if I have my voice, if I speak true to who I am, my character, my values, that may offend you. That may bother you, and you may reject me. And then I'll lose that acceptance and that third, more primitive need, which is that feeling of belonging. But Mulan showed us how to do it. She showed us that it can be done as long as it's been done in balance. And again, that's what I call the law of love. The law of love is that we need to love others as we love ourselves. If we can do both of those things and not one or the other, then we find balance. So I'm going to leave you with this question. Do you have that balance? Do you find yourself searching for and seeking to belong, and therefore you don't chase your dreams? You don't chase your goals. You don't chase, what you really want in life because you're afraid people are going to see that as selfish. They're going to see that as childish. Do you worry more about being accepted and pay the price of losing your identity? If so, I want you to really consider that law of love. I want you to think about how to create both, how to love others, think about others, give your life for others like Mulan did, but not in a way that's self-sacrificing, which is what Mulan was doing in the very beginning. She was self-sacrificing for her love for others, and she couldn't really fully love others because she wasn't loving herself. She wasn't true to herself. So she had to do both. She had to love herself, be true to herself, to be able to fully love others. And I want to, again, have you search your soul, search yourself and see if you've found that balance. And if not, I want you to look at it. I want you to look at that and consider that. Again, at the gathering of good people, we have some resources that may help also. We have a course called The Sevens that walk you through the 7 human needs and help you kind of look at how do we balance all these different needs we have. So I want to encourage you to go there as well. Also, subscribe, make some comments. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on this review. Again, I'm Brett R. Williams, psychotherapist, and thank you so much for being a part of our gathering of good people. Take care.